Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we will be talking about CPT coding and as it pertains to the urinary system and the male genital system. So again, I just would like to remind you of some resources that you can be using. So make sure you use your announcements that is in your course. Also, take advantage of the online medical dictionary, your coding manuals, which would be your CPT, HCPCS, and ICD-10 coding manuals, as well as your step-by-step workbook and textbook. And as I always tell coders, the best way to get better at it is by practice. There is no magic bullet to it. You just have to just practice, and that will assist you in becoming a more proficient coder. So we've reviewed the books already that you're going to need. So the first thing that I always like to mention to students and people who are trying to learn coding is first become familiar with your coding manual. All of your coding manuals will have guidelines in there. And so you want to spend some time with reviewing your coding manuals. But today we're going to talk about the surgery section of your coding manual. So even though we'll be talking about the urinary system, it falls underneath the coding system and the coding guide. The surgical coding guidelines. So I'm just going to give you some tips because students always ask me, I don't even know where to start to code procedures. So this is something to just take a little quick screenshot of just in case, you can use it as a reference point. So just as some general guidelines, first thing you want to know is what is the service or the procedure that's being performed. So did the patient just come in for an office visit? We want to know, was there any additional services performed? Like, for example, did the patient get an EKG? We want to look at the patient's age and gender because sometimes this could affect the code that can be used. Now, particularly in your surgery section, you want to look at what method, what instrument, and what approach was used because this could change the code. So we want to make sure we're looking at those things. We want to look at what is the anatomic site that's being treated. We want to look at, does the code or procedure require quantity or time? Because you have some procedures that quantity is involved. We want to know, was there any complications or anything that was unusual that happened during that visit or during that surgery? We want to know, was there more than one provider? Sometimes in some surgeries, we'll have multiple providers. This is information that we want to know about. And then we also want to know, what is the final diagnosis? So that's the diagnosis after the patient has gotten a procedure. What is the diagnosis at the end? Because that diagnosis may be different than the diagnosis when a patient first came in. So we want to make sure that we are coding using the final diagnosis. So these are just some quick steps for you to start to look up codes in your coding manual. First thing you want to do is you're going to go to the index, identify the main term, and the main term is identified by either the procedure, the organ or the anatomic site, the condition, or any symptoms or abbreviations. So those are some tips of how to find the main term that you're going to look up. Then we want to make sure that we review any instructional notes. The next thing, we want to make sure that we never ever code from the index. And I have a great example today of why you don't want to code from the index, especially in the surgery section. And I'll show you some examples of why you don't want to do that. One, you're going to miss any other additional information about that code. So at the bottom of all of your CPT manual, you'll have symbols that go on the bottom. So if you're coding from the index does not have those symbols. Also, you don't want to code from the index because if there's any additional information about that code, it's not available in the index because the index is just what it is. It's an index. It's just a place for you to help you to locate the code inside of the book. So make sure that you are not coding from the index. So we want to verify that code in the tabular list. We never ever code from the index. And because you got a 50-50 chance of being wrong. So don't run with the odds. Remember, when you're out on a job site and you're doing coding, a lot of organizations require you to have at least a 95% of your claims to be correct. 95%. So that's not a whole lot of room for error. So you want to make sure your coding is as good as possible because we're all going to make mistakes. You're all going to slip. You're going to miss a guideline. Things are going to happen. So the things that we can prevent by going straight to the tabular list, see if there's any additional information, let's eliminate those. So once you get to the tabular list, you'll find different guidelines, special instructions, any notes there. You'll find your symbols there at the bottom of the page. So again, you don't want to code from the index. And you will hear many people say it over and over because many coders will code from the index and then they'll find out later that they have a large percentage of errors. And one of the reasons why is because they're coding from the index. So make sure that you're not coding from the index. You always want to refer back to the original documentation to make sure that it is correct, it's agreeing with the code that you're choosing. It may take you an extra 10, 15 seconds just to make sure that, okay, I'm assigning a code for a CAT scan of the abdomen. You want to just go and make sure that on your documentation, you have CAT scan of the abdomen. So you want to make sure that you refer back to your original documentation. That is very, very important. So the other thing I want to point out to you is that you have the step-by-step book. This is one of the best books that you can get as far as to teach you how to code. It is very thorough. You just have to use it to your advantage. There's lots of great information in there. And remember, I said the best way you're going to get good at coding is by practicing. So one thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen with you just to show you a couple little things that you can be doing to practice using your step-by-step book. Also, don't forget to use your PowerPoints as well. There's a lot of information that goes into coding, and you're not going to just get it all in one place. So use your PowerPoints. That's going to help summarize things for you in a chapter. Use your book and read your chapters. And then remember, for certain sections of your book, the answers are located in Appendix B. So I just wanted to point that out to you because some students don't realize that that information is available. So it is available in Appendix B. So you can practice and do some of your questions that they have in a book and you have your answers right away. So I recommend that you do practice with the additional questions. So I'm going to share my screen with you. We're talking about the urinary and male genital systems. So this is the step-by-step book that I have up on the screen. And so basically it's going through and it's breaking it down for you. First of all, the section of the urinary system. It gives you great, pictures so that you can see. Also, it'll go into the different areas of the CPT manual. So the incision area is going to be 50010 through 50135. So make sure that you're reading the chapter. Also, do the little quick check just to make sure that you understand. And see right here, answers are located in Appendix B. So that's why they're there. They're there for you to practice with. Same thing here. Here's a question, a quick check question. The answer is in Appendix B. So utilize the questions that they're asking you along the way. They're very detailed in the book. So it's if you take your time with it, review it, you're going to get very proficient at coding because you have all of the material that you need. So here's another one, exercise 20-1. It's only focusing on the kidney. This is a great opportunity here for you to use your CPT manual, look up the codes, and see if you get it right. And then if you get it wrong, you always can come to Appendix B. Let's go there right now. So this is exercise 20-1. So I'm just going to click on Appendix B. And as you can see, all the exercises are here, so you can actually check your answers. So let's go. So all those quick checks that I had went through, those are there. So 20-1. Sorry about that. I had to move this over a little bit. Well, so here's 20-1. So here are the answers to those exercises. So you see, you have all of the answers here, and they're explaining it to you. So this is a great opportunity for you to practice what you're learning. Please, I beg you, if you really want to be a proficient coder, you have to do this. You have to practice. This is the only way that you're going to get good. So once you look up the code, and let's say you got it wrong, they're telling you how they got the right answer for this first one, for example. They're telling you that they want you to go to thyroid gland, then they want you to look up cyst, and then excision, and then you're going to come up with this code. So if you went and found the answer a different way, now you can backtrack to see, well, where I went wrong. Aha, this is where I went wrong. So that's why I want to take a few minutes to spend some time and show you guys that you have these answers in the book here. They're there to help you use it. They're there to help you. If you notice, they're in here for all of the chapters. So I just want to show you guys that so that you can be utilizing this tool that's available. Now I just click back on urinary system on the side here. So while you're reading the chapter, you're actually learning the rules for how to code in that section, which those rules are going to be the same ones that are in your CPT manual. So you actually can have your CPT manual open while you're reviewing each of the sections. So I just wanted to point that out, that this is a great resource that you guys should be using. Don't just do the assignments that are assigned to you by your instructor. Also do the exercises that are going to make you better. So just want to give you guys some tips that the answers are in the back of the book for all of the exercises. So I just figured I will let you guys know that. So take some time and practice with some of the areas. Even if you don't do all of the exercises, try and do some of the key ones and read over the information that's being given. And then also, you'll notice that they'll have a coding shot. These are really good. So these are things that you want to be familiar with. So they're letting you know, usually third-party payers will not reimburse for more than one of these procedures per episode of the illness unless the bladder or urethral malignancies are being treated. This is something you want to know about. So look at the coding shots as well. Great resources. So again, take some time and spend some time with your step-by-step book. I know you guys are busy. I know you're working, but I want to show you the tools that are there for you to become successful. So utilize the tools that are there. So I'm going to go back over to my PowerPoint, but I just want to show you guys that. So I took a case study question from out of the book. So this is from the workbook. So the case study is circumcision using a clamp and its routine. So just like if you were practicing on your own, I'm going to review the steps with you on how to come up with the correct answer. So we're going to be looking for the CPT code as well as the ICD-10. So this is for the circumcision using clamp routine. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to our index. We're going to go to circumcision, and then we'll see surgical, excision neonate, and then it's going to direct us to code 54150. But before I talk about this modifier 52, I want to show you something that is in the CPT manual. So let's say we're in the index now, and we're going to look up circumcision. So when you are in the index, and this is the ebook, so of course I can't look it up like you guys can because you have a physical book, but I just wanted to show you something that comes up. So we're in the index, I'm at circumcision, and it's telling me circumcision, newborn, 54150. Code look like it's right, I'm gonna just assign it. Many people do that. But this is where you're going to get hung up. Because, see, you don't see any other information there other than just the code. And if you look, circumcision, newborn with clamp or other device, so we know we're in the right area, and it says newborn. So we know that we're in the right section. So now I'm going to show you what else it actually says once we get to the tabular list. And I'll go back and talk to you about what I just clicked off of. So now we're in a tabular list. I'm at the code 54150. Circumcision using a clamp or other device with regional dorsal penal or ring block. So do you notice this has some more information here? So it says, do not report modifier 63 in conjunction with 54150. So again, you didn't see that in the index. They're also telling you that report code 54150 with modifier 52 when performed without dorsal penal or ring block. You see? This information was not in the index. So you see, if you would have coded from the index, you would have missed this. I'm sorry, my screen had actually jumped. You would have missed that information. So we want to make sure that you don't miss that important information. So that's why I'm pointing it out to you, because it's very important that you do not just code from the index, because you're going to miss that information. So this is why we're going to use the modifier 52, because it's telling us we're going to report this code with modifier 52 when it's performed without a dorsal penal or ring block. So we don't have that information, and never assume anything. In my example, I don't give any other information, so we have to stick with what is in the example. And all the example is telling us is circumcision using a clamp routine. Doesn't tell us anything else. So do not make any assumption. Go by what is in the documentation. So that's another important point that I like to point out, is go by what is in the documentation. Don't make any assumptions. So I hope you guys were able to see how we came up with CPT code 54150 and then the modifier 52. But I like this example because this is a great one to show you why you don't want to code from the index. So make sure that we don't code from the index. So we have our code. So we have our CPT, the 54150 with the modifier 52. So now we have to get a diagnosis. So our diagnosis is going to be circumcision routine. Because remember, all we have in our documentation is that the patient came in for circumcision using the clamp and it was routine. So that's how we know what diagnosis code to use. So we'll come up with the Z41.2. So one other resource that I want to show you really quickly. I like this website and it's good for ICD-10. Still use your coding books. Use your ICD-10 book. I'm showing you this just as another way that you can check your answer. So our code is Z41.2. So we put it in. First thing we notice is that this is green. So we know that the code is valid and it's valid for 2023. So I like this website because it actually gives you some additional information about diagnosis, the diagnosis that you're choosing. So it'll give you any synonyms that are used. It will also give you some other background information. It'll let you know what year it was available for, because sometimes you may get claims that are from a previous year that you need to code. So this information is really good because it's letting you know that this code has been valid since 2016 and it's been valid every year since. It's letting you know it is a billable code, and it also lets you know that this is for a male. So I like that it'll let you know that there's some codes that are gender specific. It's letting you know that this is applicable for our male patients. So again, lots of good information on this website. It'll let us know whether the code is correct. So this is another tool that you can use. It's icd10data.com. I love it for ICD-10 coding. So just another tool that you can use. And as you are in coding, you're going to realize that there are lots of tools out here. And so what I recommend you do is put this in your favorites so that you can use this website at a later time to check and verify your ICD-10 codes. Okay, well, that's all that I have for today. So thank you for joining and have a great week.